Meeting to order. Thank you all for being here tonight, and welcome to the school district offices, Osceola County. We will start our meeting with an invocation led by Pastor Terry Howell of the Living Water Fellowship. We'll have our Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Gary Whedon, principal of Kissimmee Middle School, followed by our national anthem by a group of Osceola elementary students. Our mission statement tonight will be read by, Kelvin will correct me if I'm wrong, Yara de la Fuentes. Yes, good. Okay, good. Bueno. And our translation services will not be provided by Chairman Ricky Booth, but instead will be provided by Miss Belinda Reyes. So I'd ask everyone if you could please stand.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come to the meeting today. Lord, most everyone in this room has devoted their lives to the importance of our children's education, and today I pray a special blessing upon them and upon this board and council as they meet today. Lord, I pray that your hand would be upon every decision that we would make. Guide us and direct us. In the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Principal Whedon.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated.
What's the highlight? Well done.
Nice job. Ms. De La Fuentes.
Good evening. Our mission statement, inspiring all learners to reach their highest potential as responsible, productive citizens.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Ms. Reyes.
And I am with Translation Services. Mi nombre es Belinda Reyes y estoy aquí para proveer servicio de traducción. Gracias.
Thank you. We will move on now to the comments from our school board. I'll start this side.
Thank you. First off, I want to wish everybody a Happy New Year, a great 2018. I'd like to thank my fellow board members and the district leadership team for accommodating me at the last board meeting. I was not walking. They had me sitting down below, so thank you. And Dr. Pace and your team, you did a great job with the strategic plan today. Thank you. I've got something. This is from the January 15, 2018 edition of Time I'd like to read. This is about Camille Jones, who's the Washington State 2017 Teacher of the Year. At Pioneer Elementary, a K-3 school in Quincy, Washington, a rural district 150 miles from Seattle, all 450 students visit Jones every other week for classes in what she calls STEAM. It's a play on STEM, which stands for science, technology, engineering, and math, but with an A thrown in for the arts. The process an engineer goes through is the exact same process that a writer uses, she says. You start with an idea and you develop a plan. When you go back and revise it, they have the same core goal, which is preparing kids to be successful in the world. Jones, 31, says she and her colleagues are attuned to the idea of being inclusive. Her students are mostly poor and Hispanic, and many are still learning English. So she had her colleagues look at alternative ways to spot talent and potential. Traditional assessments typically leave out students from diverse backgrounds, she says. Jones' approach is all about highlighting connections between disciplines. We created at school these baskets of different subjects areas, but these kind are fictional, Jones says. All the skills they're learning will relate and help them as they grow older, no matter where they go. It was written by a woman named Sarah Begley. I'll pass this down to put this in the record. This is the January 15, 2018 edition. I thought it was very interesting that most of her students were poor and Hispanic, and that she does not use standardized tests to spot talent. That's why I wanted to bring this up. So pass this down, please.
Thank you, Mr. Wheeler.
That's all I got.
Mr. Soto?
Thank you, Chairman Booth. Happy New Year's to everyone. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm glad that we're back in business. We have an exciting school year, rest of the calendar year, and an exciting semester that we're going to be starting. I can't say enough my elation when I go to my mailbox and I get the Poinciana High School's newspaper, The Point, just waiting for me there. This is the December 14th issue, and a great provocative cover with I can't wait to read the article. This is just quality journalism there from our own very own high schools. But briefly, I want to say that we've had some challenges with all the students that are coming from Puerto Rico from the hurricanes. I can't say enough, and I do try to take advantage of every opportunity that the press provides this board and myself to express to the community just how proud I am of the work that Superintendent Pace and her staff and leadership and the students, the teachers, what they've done. Just to finish it up, I want to tell you something. In Puerto Rican culture, when a hurricane comes, a big storm, we kind of memorialize it in lore, and we talk about it years and years later. And one of the things that I look forward to is hearing 10, 15, 20 years from now, when people talk about what happened, and they talk about their adventure, how they had to come over to Osceola County to continue going to high school or going to middle school or going to elementary school, and they express just what a positive experience they had in between everything that happened. And I'm sure that that's going to be the case. And like I said, I can't say thank you enough, not just to our schools, but also to you, the community that received everyone with open arms and continue to help them through this very difficult time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Soto. Mr. Thacker?
Last week I was in Tallahassee, and Mr. Weishire and I happened to be there for different reasons at the same time, but the Florida School Book Association called Tim, I guess, and I ended up picking them up, but the Alabama School Board Association had collected materials for students and that were in need from the hurricane, and the Florida School had passed them on to Andrea Messina, the executive director for the Florida School Board Association, who passed them on to me to bring them to our school district. So there's a lot of people in the world that do care and do pay attention, so I'd like to thank the Alabama School Board Association for that donation of all those materials, which are still in my truck and coming out tonight. And I appreciate it very much, and for the Florida School Board Association thinking of Osceola County and the need we have here and passing those to us. So, Tina, if you would take that back, I would appreciate that too.
I will do that.
Good. Mr. Wesher?
Nothing from me tonight. I'm good.
I just wanted to say Happy New Year to everyone, and look forward to a fantastic 2018. That's from the board. I didn't miss you. Dr. Pace?
Just very quickly, members of the board and members of the community, we've had a couple of really exciting events last week that occurred here in the district. First of all, on Wednesday, I had the distinct pleasure of working with our community relations team to be in our schools recognizing our top finalists for Teacher of the Year. We have exceptional teachers across this district in all of our building, but this is our chance to really get to identify the cream of the crop, the top of the top, and it was just a tremendous amount of fun. We have one more pending, and then we'll have all 10 of our top 10 finalists ready to share with you, the community, and we'll be recognizing them in March at our Education Awards. And then finally, last Friday, we had the opportunity to hold our first ever ESET 2 convening. Elevating and celebrating effective teachers and teaching. And it was organized by our own Michael and Amy Miller, who are here in the room today, as well as our professional development team, our community relations team. Everybody rallied around to recognize and celebrate with 2 teachers and an administrator from every school in the district. Tremendous opportunity for teachers to learn from teachers, and more importantly, to celebrate why we do what we do every day and make a difference for kids. Had some phenomenal stories from teachers about why I teach, and got to close the day with a student who talked about why teachers had made a really powerful difference in his life, now a senior at St. Cloud High School, Adrian. So really exciting times, and I want to thank the Millers and our PD team and the entire community. We had a lot of great sponsors who helped to make that possible, but it really was a very rewarding opportunity to elevate and celebrate the great teachers we have here in the district.
Thank you, Dr. Pace. Board, tonight we have 3 presentations, and we will start with Ms. Pinkeson from the Florida School Board Association, who drove down in record time, not speeding,
I flew
by the way.
in a four-wheel
From Gainesville.
vehicle. Good evening. I am Tina Pinkeson, the Director of Leadership Services for the Florida School Boards Association. And I'm very happy to be here tonight to recognize Osceola County's leadership team as a master board. The leadership team is comprised of the superintendent, we call her St. Pace, and your 5 board members. They participated
Because of Jay. Because of Jay.
You want your dues next year, right?
That's true. Your board members and superintendent participated in 22 hours of professional development as a team to develop skills that are going to enable them to work more effectively as a leadership team. We provided some of the training that helped with your strategic plan. I think you heard Mr. Wheeler talk about the strategic plan. So we were able to be a part of that. They are one of only 18 boards in the state to hold the distinction of being a master board. And being a master board is a statement to Osceola County that your board and your superintendent are very committed to your students and to the communities which they represent. So if you, I don't know if you want a photo op.
I do. I want all the board members to come down.
Because you guys always are recognizing other people at these meetings. I know, Jay. You want me to?
I can come down.
Okay. But as they get down here, help me in congratulating the board and St. Pace. Where do you want me?
Right up front.
In front of me, behind.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're
Oh,
just,
thank you.
Dana just magically
I know,
appeared.
yeah, Dana just magically
Here, you
appeared.
hold this.
Okay.
We'll hold
We'll
this.
hold it together.
Now, hold it up high. So I'll have a double chin.
Thank you.
I'm gonna do one more. Oh, this turned out really good, so I'm good.
Okay,
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming down.
No, it's okay. There's no other board I would drive.
That we have in the chair.
I hate to. Thank you.
Don't worry, I will. You'll pay for that.
All right, moving on. Thank you, Boyd, and congratulations. I want to thank the FSBA. We really did have some engaging talks and a lot of fun. We probably pushed the limits just a little bit, but we did have a lot of fun. Now, this next guy in the back is not as good looking, but he is here representing the St. Cloud Chamber, right? I was talking about you, Robert. Next, we'll have the presentation from the St. Cloud Chamber for the Christmas Parade Awards.
Good evening, board members. St. Pace. Got to change your placard. My name is Robert Bass. I'm here with Betty Damke. We co-chair the St. Cloud Christmas Parade each year, sponsored by the St. Cloud Chamber of Commerce. The Christmas Parade is a long-standing tradition in St. Cloud. It brings thousands of people to help us kick off the holiday season. It takes an army of volunteers to manage the army of participants that we have, but it's a lot of work, but we thoroughly enjoy it. Our school district always steps up, and the students and faculty in this great district take time out of their schedule to put together some fabulous floats. And rather than just give them a little blip on a Facebook post, we felt compelled to at least come to the board meeting and present it, give them a little bit more of a formal presentation for the winners. So with that being said, we've got actually 3 winners this year. And I don't know if you want to do it all. It would probably be easier for the time. Just
Did you bring your own photographer? Do we need to get our backup photographer again?
Where's she at? Come on over here, photographer.
Oh, there's Carrie too.
Our first award goes to Best Band, and that goes to St. Cloud High School, Mr. Ed Nagel.
You want to come up front here?
Okay.
Okay.
You're going to sit down again?
Our next category was Best Nonprofit Youth, and I will say, I wish there was some way that I could show you these because they're so creative. This was on a Star Wars theme, and they did such a great job. The St. Cloud High School Art Department, Joella Dagum. Dagum. I'm sorry, Dagum. Dagum.
Remember, Miss Betty.
Come on up, guys. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Look at that.
All Star Wars down.
And if you'll indulge us for just 1 minute, I believe Ms. Dagan, if you'd like to introduce some students because they also made some drawings for today.
Yes, I have, these are my level 1 student. He started this year and he wanted to present it to say thank you to Mr. Booth for cooking the dinner for the faculty.
And what you got to say, Mr. Thacker?
Mr. Thacker too. So this is our artist. So I'll give it to.
And when did he do those?
Today.
Just today. Look at that. That's amazing.
That's very nice.
Wow. Oh, nice.
Did Mr. Fancher draw one?
I know Mr. Fancher did.
No, I did not. I ran out of crayons.
No, you pass them on.
Very nice.
This guy's a lot of...
Let me see.
I love it. You did this.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for drawing me with a coat and tie since I didn't get on the change. Thank you very much.
Great job.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you, young man. Good job. Good job.
Okay, last one, and I'll be quick about this. You know, this year was kind of an odd theme because the city of St. Cloud wanted the theme to be around the amaryllis because that's their official flower. And our next award winner really went all out. You might want to check their test scores because I think spent too much time on building the float, not enough time studying. Because it was, I don't know if you can see, well, let me announce the winner first. So it goes to Canoe Creek Charter Academy Principal Tracy Saxon and Melissa Vega. But I want their whole float was just one massive flower. I mean, it was just fantastic.
We did it on Saturday.
I'm kidding.
Saturday.
Got it, Ms. Saxon. Thank you.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank you.
Thanks, Betty.
Yes.
Go ahead, Clark.
Okay. That brings us to the proclamation to declare Celebrate Literacy Week. Who is doing it?
I'll do that.
Dr. Rasmus?
Good evening. The Just Read Florida office and the Florida Department of Education, in partnership with other FLDOE offices, school districts, state organizations, and agencies, are planning the 10th annual statewide Celebrate Literacy Week Florida 2018 events. Celebrate Literacy Week Florida 2018 is scheduled for the week of January 22nd through the 26th, 2018, and the theme is Find Yourself in a Book. The goal of this year's Celebrate Literacy Week Florida is to promote literacy and excellent reading habits in the students of Florida. We're so excited to partner with Florida's First Lady, Lady Ann Scott, on this important initiative for the 8th consecutive year. First Lady Scott will engage in fun and exciting reading experiences with select schools and classrooms across the state, and we saw her a few months ago right here in Osceola County. It is my pleasure, though, to introduce to you one of our very own SDOC students, Alexa Noble, and she is the daughter of Scott and Sherry Noble from Narcoossee Elementary, and she's going to read our proclamation.
All right. Come on, Mom.
Whereas the school district of Osceola County, Florida has the goal of guiding every student in the K through 12 system to read at or above grade level and making literacy the priority of every citizen in Osceola County. And 2, whereas change in the literacy culture of our schools will enable students to be successful in the 21st century and pre-kindergarten to post-secondary by raising expectations of teachers and students. And 3, whereas involvement in literacy programs and projects is increased through schools and community awareness of such programs. 4, whereas promoting the enjoyment of reading for all ages, children to adults, increases literacy rates. And 5, whereas parents, families, neighbors, and mentors play a critical role in helping children become successful, independent readers. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the School Board of Osceola County hereby declare the week of January 22nd through January 26th, celebrating Literacy Week Florida, the 16th day of January 2018.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Thacker and a second by Mr. Weishauer. Young Miss Noble, great job. You did a great job. All right, board, we'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, moving on. I'm trying to be quick here. We'll now turn it over to Dr. Pace for her appointments and transfers.
Good afternoon, board members. I do have a few appointments to make for your recommendation. If we could start with Mr. David Kane, if you'll come to the podium, Mr. Kane.
Yeah.
Board members, I am pleased to recommend Mr. David Kane to be the new assistant principal at Thacker Avenue Elementary School for International Studies. During his career, David Kane has held the following positions: teacher and dean of students at Kissimmee Elementary School, where he's been since 2003, truly committed to the work there. He received his bachelor's degree in elementary education from Susquehanna University and a master's degree in curriculum and instruction, as well as an education specialist degree from National Louis University. And I am confident that Mr. Kane is going to bring some of the great work that they've been doing at Kissimmee Elementary School to enrich the work that Ms. De La Fuentes and her team have been doing at Thacker.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Weishauer, second by Mr. Wheeler. Any discussion, board? Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Seeing none, motion carries 5-0. Congratulations. If you would like to say a few words, you're good.
And now I'd like to invite Jane Mabra to the podium. As Ms. Mabra is coming to the podium, I'd like to make this recommendation for her to serve as the assistant principal at Kissimmee Middle. She's held the following positions: math science teacher, learning resource specialist, and dean of students at Denjon, Westside K-8, and now Kissimmee Middle. She received her bachelor's degree in organizational behavior from Rollins College and master's degrees in curriculum and instruction and educational leadership from the American College of Education. And Ms. Mabra truly convinced all of us at the table last week when we interviewed that Kissimmee Middle is home, it's family, it's where she wants to be to serve the students of our community.
Yes.
Great.
Motion approved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Wheeler, a second by Mr. Weishauer. Board, any discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing none, motion carries 5-0. Congratulations, Ms. Mabry.
Thank you.
Have some family or friends in the audience.
Thank you, board members, Dr. Pace, Dr. Fritz, and Mr. Allen. I want to thank my principal, Mr. Whedon, for providing us such a positive school environment for me to grow as a leader. I want to thank Ms. Rolando for her continuous support and guidance, and Ms. Bertram, who's watching online, for seeing the potential in me and pursuing leadership. I want to thank my mom and my son, Devin, and lastly, my loving husband, Dante. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
For his unconditional support and love, and you helped me become the best version of myself.
Congratulations. We love the passion. Don't worry about it.
That's right.
And finally, board, it's my honor to ask Jeff Schwartz to come to the podium. During his career,
Yes.
has held the following positions: teacher at South Mountain Middle, teacher at Neptune Middle, dean at Neptune Middle, and assistant principal of instruction in college and career readiness at St. Cloud High School since 2009. He received his bachelor's degree in education from Bloomsburg University, a master's degree in educational leadership from Stetson University. And I am pleased to recommend Mr. Schwartz to become the new principal at Poinciana High School. He came to the table with a plan, with passion, with excitement, and I am confident he's going
Motion to approve.
build on the work that
Second.
Mr. Meechan and his team have started.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion by Mr. Weishauer, second by Mr. Soto. Board, any discussion? I will say this: I only said no because I don't want you to leave St. Cloud High School. So I appreciate all the work you've done over there, and tongue in cheek, but I do appreciate all that. I hate to see you go, but good luck in your new endeavor.
I look forward to working you at PHS.
Yeah. All right. Boards, no further discussion. We'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries 5-0. Congratulations.
I want to thank Dr. Pace, Dr. Fritz, and Dr. Reinhardt for your confidence in me, and thank the school board for your approval. I want to thank my family. I think my mom and dad are watching. Via's at the camera right there, so hi, Mom, hi, Dad. Thanks to my wife. And my lovely wife is here, Michelle Schwartz, and my two sons, Nicholas and Diego, so I want to thank them for their support. I'm proud of what we've accomplished at St. Cloud High School over the last 8.5 years, and I'm going to miss Mr. Fancher, although I will see him at the principal meeting, and Ms. Dagum, and the great staff and students at St. Cloud High School, but I'm very excited for meeting the good people of the Point Siena school community. Looking forward to collaborating with them to make sure that we develop students that are as marketable and prepared for as many post-secondary opportunities as possible. And I think some of the Point Siena staff are actually here too, and I want to thank them for being here. I got to say it already.
Mr. Schwartz, I want to congratulate you on upgrading school board members tonight as well. You're now in District 3 with me, so congratulations to you.
Now, for the end of the year, we get steak dinners.
I'm sorry. Yeah, hey, you got tough shoes there.
Lobster?
Yeah. Hey, Happy Meal coming your way.
Happy
Chicken
Meal.
nuggets.
Congratulations, Jeff. Do we want to allow time now for if folks, if you want to get up and leave now, if you're here for an appointment and transfer, and you don't want to stay for the rest of the meeting, it certainly would be the time to step out. We appreciate you all being here tonight. I thought everybody was here for the for the custodial supplies and equipment for the warehouse stock bid. But apparently not.
It's funny because I did too. We think alike. I don't blame you. It's pretty cool.
Sarah, is it neither one of the updates tonight, right? Neither one? Center or health, and neither one. Yep. No, she told me. I'm not the boss. And folks, while you're moving out, I will just say we've come to the time in our meeting where we are open for public comment. We have not received any, is that correct, Tanya? We have not received any slips for public comment, but at this time, if you would like to make a public comment, we ask that you grab one of the yellow forms in the back and fill it out. And approach the podium. And while everybody's clearing out, we'll give them another 30 seconds or so to clear the door. If you'd like to do so, the yellow sheets are right there in the back.
We might have one, Mr. Booth.
We do have one?
Wish to make a public comment?
Yes, that's fine. Please. Just bring it forward. Please hand it to Ms. Tanya there.
No, I didn't get anything in writing. Why, is there anything different?
No, we only do public comment at this moment.
Yeah. I'll make a motion. Second a motion.
Talk about whatever you want to talk about.
You can talk about whatever you're talking about.
It isn't on the agenda.
What agenda item is it?
You could just wait on that.
If you'd like to wait, we can do that. Yeah, that's fine.
Do you know who that is?
If he wants to go ahead and turn in the form, then we can fill it out later so he can make his public comment.
He just did. He
did. No, the other young
another
man.
one. Does he want to speak right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Dr. Fritz, be careful.
So I know we do have the impact fee vote coming up tonight, so we actually can allow some folks to speak during that topic. Young man, you can approach the podium. David, are you a minor?
Yes.
So if you just state your name, I don't believe you have to state your address for the record. Just state your name, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is
Okay.
David Emmett, and I'd like to thank all of you here for allowing me to speak. I'd like to bring into focus some problems that have been unaddressed that I've to the school board. The first one would be the lack of trust and respect between teachers and students, and it's caused some conflict between both parties. I think that teachers should respect their students, just especially in the high school level, just like they were young adults, which they are going, especially juniors and seniors, who are going to be entering the workforce within a couple of years. And I've seen that when the teachers who do that exact thing, the students are more willing to learn and grow. And I've seen that especially among honors classes, where the kids are going to be probably more mature than their regular ed or advanced counterparts. I feel that I'll improve the test scores for the schools that they are in. And the other issue I wanted to bring was a possible return of home ec classes to St. Cloud High School, the school I go to, among like drafting, workshop, because I feel that we're not teaching kids practical skills as we used to. In fact, a lot of parents that are my parents and my family have been kind of shocked that we've been lacking of those departments. And I feel that when our students get out of college, if they go to college and succeed in college and pass and graduate, they'll go into the workforce unprepared, because if they don't have stuff that we learn in home, that we're supposed to learn in home ec, like cooking, sewing, repairing things, that working on cars, etc., that they will not be ready for life on their own. And that could also allow, if they learn those kind of skills, and along with budgeting, they would be more productive members of society, which is what we're trying to do here in Osceola County School District. Thank you.
Hold on.
David, thank you. We do have a couple comments from board members, if you're okay with that. Ms. Soto?
So, first of all, I want to say that I know you were a little bit nervous out there, but I'm very, very proud that you fought through that. You deliver a message that you feel very strongly about, and that you're not speaking just for yourself. You're speaking for other students as well. And because of that, I'm going to address just the first part of your comment. I think that maybe other board members could talk about the home ec thing. But here's what I want to tell you. It takes a lot of maturity to understand a lot of the circumstances that you're going to be facing as you get older. And in high school is the beginning of a lot of interactions that are different from, and they feel different from when you're younger. Here's my thoughts on it. These things can happen because teachers are human beings just like you are, and there's always a moment where we're not at our best. Sometimes we just make a lot of mistakes, and sometimes, quite honestly, you may just have a teacher that's not really paying attention. But by the same token, if you consider people as human beings, as individual human beings, and you give them that agency, that maybe something was miscommunicated or there's a mistake, what you'll usually find, and you'll see this as you go, as you get older and you deal with more people, is that people want to do the right thing and they want to correct where they were wrong. I would suggest that you talk to your principal and see if, or a vice principal or another staff, and see if they could mediate and give that teacher an opportunity maybe to explain or fix the miscommunication, probably give you more insight as to the dynamics, and so that you can learn as well, and maybe understand your role in what happened, and just make it a growing moment for everyone, and not just expect all of the adults to deal with you perfection. Yes, they're held to a higher standard, but this is what we are. We're human beings. And so you really want to go ahead and bring other adults to mediate the situation, and so that you could grow and learn from it, and the teacher as well. It's really a moment for you to take and learn from and grow up. And it's also a moment for a teacher to also review and maybe learn something about themselves as well, in a kind of compassionate way. You know what I mean? Instead of confrontation. Most people really just want to do the right thing. All right?
Yeah, students have a responsibility to also respect the authority above them.
Correct.
And it's our duty as well to have that mutual respect between.
And they need to hear that. But you may need the help of another adult, just to facilitate that communication. Okay?
Mr. Wheeler?
Yeah. First off, first name is David, right?
Yes.
David, what grade are you in?
I am in 10th grade.
10th grade, okay. First off, David, I thought you did a very good job, speaking to us, and it takes a lot of courage. A lot of adults won't get up and speak to us, so I appreciate that, number one. Number two, I want to thank you for setting an example and being a Boy Scout. Are you close to being an Eagle?
Yes, sir.
Good. Well, keep this in mind. And I'm going to get off base a little bit here. Once you become an Eagle Scout, that's one of the few things you can do in high school that you can put on your resume when you're 50 and it still gets people's attention. So stay on track, get your Eagle, and I see your mom sitting there back there nodding her head. Stay on track for do you know what your Eagle project's going to be yet?
I have gotten a request to help out with the local military museum.
Okay.
They have some brickwork that needs to be done.
Okay. Well, whatever it is, I encourage you to stay on track to get to become an Eagle. But getting back to what for better or worse, adults, teachers, doctors, engineers come in all shapes and sizes. Some are great, some aren't so great. To that end, it's a known fact that if a teacher or an adult cares about a young person, that young person will do better. If you haven't yet, I would encourage you to go meet with Mr. Fancher, maybe with your mom, maybe with your dad. That's number one. Number two, I would also encourage you, if you haven't yet, I'll ask, have you run for a leadership position in student government, be class president, class vice president, anything like that yet?
No, but I've wanted to. The problem has been that I have not been able to go to such meetings.
Well, talk to the government sponsor for the school or for your class. I would strongly encourage you to consider that because, to your point, you're bringing something to us, which I appreciate. But number two, become part of the solution. Get involved. Become part of the SAC. Become part of a school committee. Like I said, go meet Mr. Fancher. There are a lot of parts and pieces that go into this. I'm not going to tell you that we can necessarily get home ec and teach every kid how to do an oil change, et cetera, or how to bake or how to cook. I mean, I know I've got a son who's a senior in high school. He can barely make toast. But again, I would encourage you to meet with Mr. Fancher if you would like before you leave. If you want to contact me or have your parents, if you contact me, if you send me an email, I would encourage you need to copy your mom or dad on the email. So come on up here, get my card. My cell number's on here. My email address is on here. You can address me. David, thank you so much. And I look forward to big things from you, and I want to know about your Eagle project, so contact me about that too. Thank you, David, for being here. We appreciate you.
Thank you, David.
Dave, before you go, I just want to say I want to commend you for coming up to share your viewpoints tonight. They are heard and valued and respected, and I want you to know that. And as other board members have said, it takes a great deal of confidence to be able to stand in front of a governing body and express your viewpoints, and you did it very well. The other thing I want you to know is that your point that was shared, and you received some very sound advice from my peers on the board, but the point that you shared about respect being displayed by all parties within our school district is absolutely the standard of this board, and I know our superintendent and our leadership team across the district. So I want you to know that it is our desire that everybody treats every student as well as every student treats every staff person with respect. And what you're asking for is the basic human decency that we know that we all strive for. So I want to commend you for recognizing that as an important aspect of us as humans, and I want to thank you for coming here tonight to address this board and doing it so well. Have a good evening.
David, thank you. I guess to wrap things up, I will make the plug for home ec because my mother was a home ec teacher right here in Osceola County for a long, long time. We learned how to sew and cook and all those things. I will say I think Senator Montford says it best every time that somebody in the state legislature stands up to add something to the school district. They say always ask, what are you going to take away? And I think that's the situation that we find ourselves in here up here at this board. Is if we're going to add something, we have to take something away. And certainly I believe in those skills. I hope in your Boy Scout endeavors that you are learning a lot of those skills. I still have the football I sewed in my mother's home ec class, and a lot of kids from Beaumont and Neptune still do as well. And when she retired, they were posting them all on Facebook, so it was really neat. But I do think those are valuable life skills, and I do believe in the value of home economics. I don't know if we're in the position right now to add the home economics back to our classes. So we look forward to Boy Scouts to do some of that work for us, and your mom. So I will say one thing as we conclude and finish, and I agree with Mr. Weishauer. I think you've received, and from him as well, some sound advice tonight. I'm going to tell you this. I'll probably be a little rougher and gruffer than the other guys. When you're 19 and you get your first job, you're going to be disrespected by your boss. When you're 25 and you get a new job, you're going to be disrespected by your boss. When you're driving down the road, you're going to be disrespected by a guy at a red light or somebody who cuts you off. Yeah, this guy will do it to you too. When you're 40 years old and maybe you're serving on a school board, you're going to be disrespected, maybe by your other colleagues on the school board. I'll tell you this: carry yourself high and carry yourself well. The main person that you need to worry about is David, and you carry yourself with dignity and respect, and you keep being engaged in the process, like coming here tonight, and you'll do great things. So thank you for coming out tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, David. Good job.
All right, for the audience, we are going to move into our regular meeting items. I just want to make this clear, Board. We had the opportunity, Dr. Pace, Mr. Krumpenbacher, and I, and I know you've received maybe some emails concerning this. After our last, this is, for those of you in the audience, this is our second meeting with a new structure of the way we record our votes, the way the staff uploads their information, the way we view it here on our monitors, and the way we look at it right here on the paper. So everything is new. I appreciate that as the new chairman on my second meeting, that everything is different. So what we have done, Board, and Ms. Revelle should have notified you, I believe she did, that if you look, traditionally we have went through each and every regular agenda item, staff item, and done it on its own. But what we have done now is kind of combined everything into the consent agenda. And I asked Dr. Pace and Ms. Revelle to remind you of that so that when we get here tonight, if there is a specific item that you would like to be pulled, just like always, now's the time to do it. But I do want to remind you, Board, that the consent agenda is larger than it traditionally has been. We will, I think, as a practice, as the chairman and the superintendent and our attorney, anything that's over, Dr. Pace, $1 million, $2 million.
Significant contracts.
Significant contracts, I think is the way to put it instead of an arbitrary number. But we will always put those, or I will always put those on the regular agenda items. Some of the other things that we have traditionally voted on, sort of like consent, like our business and finance, the small bids, check signing and things like that, we'll just vote on them at one time as consent. So right now, we need to know if any of you would like to modify this agenda. Mr. Wheeler?
Yeah, I just need to add under, I got to just familiarize myself with this thing. Under new business, and Board, just so you know, I did make a phone call and talk to the chairman in advance about the Central Florida Commission on Homelessness. I just need to add that under new business.
Okay.
So Dr. Pace, I apologize for not letting you know, but this is just a housekeeping thing for the Board. That's all I've got.
For the record, the only conversation that took place was you were advising him you wanted to add it to the agenda.
Yes, that was all I
Correct.
said, yes.
That is correct.
That is completely correct.
Mr. Soto?
I don't have any.
How many? Mr. Thacker?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Mr. Weishauer?
I'm fine, sir. Thank you.
You're good. I would like to, Dr. Pace, do we need to add workshop dates to the end? Do you want to discuss those at the end here, or do you want to get with us later in the week?
You can discuss that under board member comments.
Okay,
if you'd
let's-
like. I would like to remind you that item 17.01, under the school board attorney,
Okay.
we need to pull.
Yeah, I see.
All right.
It's already pulled on mine.
It's a regular agenda
Oh,
item.
I got a couple.
So we're adding,
So we're going to add workshop dates, but just under board member comments. It won't be an official agenda item. I don't believe we have to do that. We will be pulling 17.1 and making it a regular agenda item.
Actually, sorry, it was a regular agenda item. We're completely pulling it from the agenda tonight. There'll be no action on that
Oh, we are
item.
completely pulling it from the agenda.
coming
So
back February 6th?
Coming back February the 6th week.
Okay. Board, I would like to add a audit committee member to my. Received the application today during our workshop, and was notified that that this person would take over a vacant spot. My vacant spot that I have on the audit committee. It's Lori Giambroni. She is works for Centennial Bank. I don't know her direct title, but I think most of us know her. So if we can, Frank, where would be the best spot to do that, do you believe? Under new business?
On the consent agenda. And list
On the
this
consent
time
agenda?
as an appointment.
Since we're adding it, should we make it a standalone vote at the end, or can we just put it?
We can add it to the consent agenda.
We can add it to the consent agenda.
Would you rather, but I'm going to check with, understand something, all roads lead through that woman's.
Okay, how about, let's,
I'm pointing at you,
Tanya, how would this, how can we do this the easiest? Because I don't think it'll be a big deal.
New business.
Okay, let's just do it under new business. Let's do it under new business.
So Ricky's adding audit.
I'll add an audit committee member. All right, board, we will entertain a
I'll
motion.
make a motion to approve the agenda with the following changes: removing item 17.1, adding under new business, item 1, an audit committee appointee, and item 2 under new business, the Central Florida
Commission on Homelessness.
Commission on Homelessness under new business.
Second.
So we have a motion by Mr. Thacker, second by Mr. Wheeler. All those in favor?
Aye.
Seeing none opposed, the motion carries 5-0. Okay, board, that leaves us to information items. I don't believe anybody's speaking on any of the information items tonight, but I do want to make you aware, which I believe you all are, because we received the information from the superintendent about the Neo City Academy. Will we be bringing that up for a vote next meeting, or?
Typically, the board hasn't necessarily approved the brand. You've given me kind of a consensus
Okay,
direction
yeah.
because you've approved the name and the colors and the mascot.
Does the board member have any comments or concerns about the branding or the mascot or the colors or any of that?
Looks good.
I thought we'd have black and gold just because we're part of UCF.
I think that'd be almost copyright infringement.
As long as you're asking me a question. No, I'm good.
Denied. No, I'm just.
Stop.
Okay, you have the information about the comprehensive annual finance report. Board, you have the information in your packet about the monthly business advisory meeting. That brings us to our first regular agenda item under Chief of Staff for Teaching, Leading, and
Mr.
Learning.
Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve item 14.01 under Chief of Staff for Teaching and Leading and Learning as submitted.
I'll second. So we have a motion by Mr. Wheeler, a second by Mr. Soto. Any discussion, board?
I've just got a question for Superintendent. Are you comfortable? I know a little while ago there were some concerns about this charter. Have those been resolved? Are there any?
Yes, sir, that full application was reviewed in its entirety. I do have my light.
Yeah, I saw you had your button on. Remind me if I don't.
Not about this item. So go ahead.
Oh, did I skip you?
I just would like, and I apologize.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Booth, but we do have a number of folks here in recognition of the renaming of our technical college to OTEC. It's something that you approved on the consent agenda, but I felt like we would be remiss if we didn't recognize them for being here and celebrate the great work of OTEC.
OTEC. Well, I want to thank you guys for all your hard work. I know we had a hiccup, I guess, just in the branding process. I think we've worked through that now. We've got a better kind of system in place, and but you guys are doing a fantastic job, and we appreciate all that you're doing. So, thank you, and thank you for being here tonight. I know it's an exciting meeting, and everybody's at the edge of their seats.
And we're coming there for dinner Sunday.
We are.
All right, board. We have a. We didn't.
We don't need.
No. We didn't vote yet on 14.1. I skipped over Dr. Pace and gave her a chance in that discussion portion, and that's my fault for not looking. I'll get better as chairman. Terrible now.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys. So, board, we do have a motion by Mr. Wheeler, second by Mr. Soto on item 14.1. Seeing no further discussion, I'll call for a vote.
No, just vote. Just for it.
He stepped out. It's fine.
The bathroom.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries 4-0. with
Go Slam.
Mr. Weissire not in attendance.
Just call it 5-0.
You have to have a policy to do that. Tim has recorded himself as a yes, so you can call it 5-0.
Okay, we'll take Tim's yes.
All right, that brings us to the item number 15.
Chair, I'll make a motion to approve item 15.01 as submitted.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. Wheeler, a second by Mr. Thacker. Board, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing none, motion carries 5-0. Board, that brings us to the superintendent recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion.
Whoa. You got,
Let's just,
Take it one at a time.
did I skip?
No, you there.
yeah,
What are you looking at?
16.1.
yeah, right here. I'm sorry. I got it.
So, Board, before we get started, would we like to entertain our public comments? I think at this time we'll do that. So anybody who would like to make some public comments before we get to our votes on the school impact fee, and I know we already have one that's signed up. Board, is that okay with everyone? That we do it now?
I got a comment when before they come up. Though.
Before they come up, Mr. Thacker?
I will be abstaining from voting on items 16.1, 2, and 3, and 4. My wife has done work on this project for a couple of the applicants, and to avoid any appearance of a conflict, I will not be voting. I will be discussing the issues, though.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Thacker. At this,
We'll file the appropriate form.
And I will file the appropriate form with the secretary.
so we will.
Can I do these on one, all four?
So at this time, we will take public comment concerning the impact fee structure and vote.
Thank you very much.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Kevin Peterkin. My address is 8255 Greensboro Drive, Suite 200, McLean, Virginia, 22102. I'm here before you tonight to speak on behalf of an ownership entity of a site in Osceola County, specifically Celebration, Florida, that the owner purchased in May of 2017. It is a mixed-use site that includes multifamily apartments as well as hotel uses. At that point in time, the ownership entity diligently began planning and spending funds on design for the project, and that is nearly complete. And it is the intent of the owner to submit for building permit as well as plan review to Osceola County within the next 30 days. The original project underwriting incorporated the school impact fees that were in place at the time of purchase, which equated up to $3 million at full build-out. The proposed multifamily school impact fee is nearly double the current fee, which increases the developer-funded contribution by $2.6 million, an overall contribution of more than $5.6 million. The increase is substantially higher at this asset class than any others that have been proposed for increase. And when you combine this with the Board of Commissioners passing the increase in the mobility fee, which adds another $1.5 million to the project budget, negatively impacting the budget that was in place at the time of acquisition. We know the concept of providing for a grace period and phasing. The increases have already been discussed in previous meetings. We do appreciate the concern of members of the board have shown regarding the fairness of this proposal towards those who have already invested in the future of the county. But we feel that the increase that is so dramatic and abrupt without considering on the effect on all the stakeholders, we would respectfully request the school board again consider an opportunity to have a grace period or phasing plan for those increases to allow the development community time to adjust their planning and budgets to account for these fee increases. And with that, I thank you very much for your time this evening. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on the impact fee issue? Okay, board. We will entertain a motion and discussion on our items under the superintendent recommendation, items in
Mr.
number
Chairman,
16.
I'll make a motion to approve item 16.1 as submitted. That's just up to accepting the school impact fee study.
Okay, I'll second it. So we have a motion by Mr. Wheeler, a second by Mr. Booth to accept the school impact fee study 16.1. All those in favor, please
Before you
state
do,
aye.
Mr. Chairman.
Sorry, discussion. Sorry.
Thank you. I just have a quick question for clarification. This vote is only to accept the work that was performed on our behalf with the study?
Correct.
By Tim Lawler.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim. Sorry about that. Any further discussion, board? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries 4-0, correct? 4-0. And 1 abstention. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve item 16.2, approval of the recommended revisions to the impact fee ordinance, authorizing an exemption for vacation villas and a reduced fee for short-term rental properties, meeting the criteria outlined in the ordinance.
Second.
So we have a motion by Mr. Wheeler, a second by Mr. Weisshire. Do we have any discussion, board? Mr. Krumpenbacher?
I ask the maker in the second. Ask the maker in second to modify in paragraph 2442-3IA11. We currently read a deed restriction specifically providing that the lots are not eligible for homestead exemption for 30 years if a business license is filed. It qualifies it. We would modify that to a deed restriction that notifies the owners or prospective owners that the property is not eligible for homestead exemption if used as a short-term rental.
I'll accept that modification. I'll modify my original motion to accept that.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there are some, just for the benefit.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Typo little things throughout, which I'm assuming I have the authority to clean up, like one word should say perspective, not perspective. We caught as we've gone through it over and over. We'll clean that up.
And you can change the colon to a semicolon.
Right.
They call that
There's no other
Scribner's-
substantive
Scribner's
changes
error,
at
is that
all.
what they call it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, sure. I accept that.
Yes, I'll send it to you. I will. Thank you.
Okay, board, we have a motion and a second. Seeing no further discussion, I'll call for a vote on item 16.2 at this time. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Seeing none, motion carries 4-0 with 1 abstention.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion on item 16.3, approval of the recommended adjustments to countywide impact fees based on the study.
I'll make a second. So we have a motion by Mr. Wheeler, a second by Mr. Booth on item 16.3. Do we have any discussion? Mr. Weisshire.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, just a quick comment. Similar to what the gentleman had mentioned, actually, I was going to bring up as well. I know that there's automatically, or at least my understanding is, there's automatically a 90-day waiting period that takes place with the adoption of the impact fee. Am I correct?
That's correct. By the county.
Correct.
The county's adoption.
I was going to ask the board to consider, if the board moves forward with adopting this, to consider looking at doing some type of a phase-in approach with this fee as well. I think, as the speaker earlier did a good job of articulating, is similar to my viewpoints. And just so you know, I don't know the speaker. I didn't know he was going to say that, but what he said is very similar to how I feel. I think creating a phase-in of these fees, or the increases of these fees, would create the environment that's a little bit more conducive to what I think the spirit of this board is. We're not looking to place an undue burden on anybody who's already started making significant investment in Osceola County, has already received their financing and funding for a project that's in the works. I would propose that the board consider doing some type of 90, 120, 90, 180 day, so on and so forth, phase-in of the increase in the fee, as opposed to going straight to it at the end of the 90-day period.
So you mean like at nothing for 90, for the next 90, half of the increase, and then after the 6 months?
Something along those lines, yeah. I think it would give those in the market that have projects in the works, or have had projects in the works for a significant period of time, the opportunity to try to get their plans in, to seek approvals earlier, as opposed to being hit with this significant increase all at one shot.
So I see here we have essentially about a $1,700, not quite a $1,700 increase. Townhomes, condominiums, you have a decrease. We have a increase on mobile homes. The big increase is the multifamily.
Mr. Chairman.
What would you do with the decreases?
So,
just make them at 90 days, or would you? Half the decrease in that.
No, I would do those at the 90 days.
So what are we asking for here, Mr. Weisher?
What I'm proposing is that for those that would see an increase, that the increase would be phased in, and I would submit that for the first 90 days, as is already the case, there is no additional increase because that is the way it will be from the time of county adoption. For the next 90 days that it's phased in, and I'm honestly just picking an arbitrary number at this point, but at 30% of the phase in, another 90 days later, 65% of the phase in, at the balance of the remaining 90 days, it would go to the full increase of the impact fee.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Wheeler.
We have not, the talk of impact fees has not been done in a vacuum. I mean, this has been going on for quite some time. The fact that somebody's come right now, I applaud him coming. I realize he's coming because the perception is there's an undue financial burden. Meanwhile, I've been doing this a long time. Nobody's lost any money because of impact fees. I mean, they've had to make a readjustment. It's part of the cost of doing business. And I don't know if phasing this in, if we can show that we can phase in the cost of construction on schools, if we're going to get a decrease in what it's going to cost us to build our schools, I'm all for it. But, I'm here to protect the interests of our schools. I don't see it as an undue burden. I remember when we raised it from $3,000 to $9,000, I had a developer storm out telling me he was going to kill his sales. 6 months later, he told me it didn't hurt sales at all for him. So in this case, I appreciate the sensitivity. However, I am not sympathetic to it. This is, I don't see anybody that's not going to make money. They just may not make as much, but people are going to make money, and they've had plenty of opportunity to see this, hear about it, and the fact that they're coming at the 11th hour, I find a little bit disingenuous, to be honest with you.
Mr. Soto, you're Mr. Booth on here, but
I know. Problem with your request is that I wouldn't, we modify this, I'm going to vote against it in that way, and the reason is because I don't feel I'm well advised on the premises on your proposal. I don't know yet what the impact is. There's a lot of little things, just like there was uncertainty bringing in this new wrinkle, now it creates new questions that I just don't have the information to. I know how to deal with what's in front of me right now, and even though I didn't think about it, I think that Mr. Wheeler does have some very valid points and concern in terms of like fairness and notice. And I think in those issues, I tend to think that we're good with what we have now. If we are going to make that change, then I would need Dr. Pace. I would need an analysis from the district to see how that impacts and how that can change things for us. And that's just the way I feel about it.
Mr. Weisher.
Thank you, Chairman. Board members, just so you know, the intent of the meeting tonight is also to provide opportunity for stakeholders in the community to come and address their governing body. So the fact that somebody's here tonight to address the body or others that are in attendance to be able to listen to the deliberations of this board and the decision of this board should in no way impugn them at all. I mean, that is exactly what this process is, and people, whether it's 2 years ago, a year ago, 3 months ago, or tonight, the opportunity to continue to address their governing body is an appropriate approach, and it doesn't bother me one bit, nor do I think it should bother any board member that anybody would address their elected officials up until the time that a decision is made, just for clarity on that. As far as the impact, Mr. Soto, my point would be that the impact to the district, although some would argue would be the difference of what we might be gaining if we voted for an impact fee increase, there is no difference. As it stands right now, we're charging the impact fee, and as it would stand in the next 90 days, we'd still be charging the same impact fee. 90 days beyond that, we'd be generating an additional 35% of the addition to the current impact fee. So the difference is really about providing an opportunity to provide fairness and equity in the marketplace and being understanding of the fact that there are thin margins sometimes in these transactions, and it's easy to think that everybody is just making money hand over fist, but underwriting projects is not something that happens overnight, and the ability to bring financing to a project many times can be hinged on very small dollars and cents in a transaction. I think this provides the right approach. I think it gives the opportunity that is deserving to our stakeholders in the community to say that this is what you can plan for and this is how this board has laid it out. I would lastly submit that it doesn't matter what we've discussed up until this point. This entire process, and I've been engaged in the process just like you from the very beginning, whether philosophically I agreed with what I anticipated the net result being. All I'm saying is that this is an opportunity for us to say, let's be responsive. It still provides, if the board votes to increase the fee, as is the current motion, it still provides for the increased fee. What it does is just provide an opportunity for the market to adapt a little bit more to increased fees. Bear in mind, all of us in our individual lives, our families, or our businesses also appreciate additional heads up and notice when our budgets are going to be impacted, whether it's a family budget or a business budget. What I'm asking for is nothing different than that, is giving an opportunity to those that have already invested a significant amount of time and significant amount of money to work on creating a project, to have the opportunity to adjust their budget, maybe readdress the financial markets and see if they can still get their projects underwritten.
Mr. Wheeler?
You know, Mr. Weiser, I agree with you. People have got the right, and they should come and address their government body. To that end, we've allowed this market to come to us in open meetings about impact fees more than once, and made ourselves available also privately. And I know there's people in the audience who I've talked to privately and have come to public meetings, and I'm very familiar with Celebration. I'm as familiar with it as anybody out there. I've represented them since 2002. And the gentleman who spoke, he's never called me. He didn't come to any meetings before. The fact that he's here now, that we're finally going to vote on it, I find this last-minute plea to be, it's not exactly falling on a welcoming audience for me, because we haven't been hiding from anybody. This has not been a closed-door process for us. In addition to that, you know, you want the market to adjust. The market's not going to adjust to the cost of what it's going to cost us to build schools. My job up here is, while be sensitive to the community, is to provide the schools, the classrooms for our students. And this funding has been needed for quite some time, and I'm not willing to give relief unless I can find the market's giving me relief. I don't know what it costs me for architectural services, for land, for construction, for subcontractors, and I don't think that's going to happen. So with that said, again, there's nobody who hasn't had an opportunity to speak to us. The fact that they're coming now, and I appreciate the fact that financing is not something done willy-nilly. I get that. Meanwhile, at the same time, I'm sure that if this doesn't work, there's somebody else who would love to develop that piece of property. It's been around for a while now. The market demands it. There's not a lot of inventory. I'm sure there's some pre-sales that can be had. I don't see this negatively impact. They got to make an adjustment, just like we've had to make adjustments on the school board based on market conditions as it affects us. My job is to represent the interests of building schools for our students, and I'm ready to vote on this now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wheeler. Mr. Thacker?
I kind of agree with where Mr. Weishauer is on this. The one that's being hit the most is the multifamily. These are big projects. They're multi-million-dollar projects. They're in the works for a year, 2 years, 3 years on financing and developing. And they've bid a whole business model up to this point based on their financing and what they think the projects are going to cost. They're going to pay the impact fees ultimately. But these people that have stuff in the works, you know, I can't vote on this, but it doesn't give me major heartburn. You're going to continue collecting what you're collecting today, and for another 90 days, you're going to collect a third of it, or then another third. Based on the size and the amount of effort that goes into getting them rather ready and the time, it's a little bit different than building a single-family home, unless you're doing doing hundreds of them. So. It seems like a reasonable request. Mr. Wheeler, you talked about this gentleman that you hadn't heard from him before. I have heard very specifically, actually, from the city of Kissimmee on this one for some downtown products that are coming out of the ground that has a whole model and a developer model built around that for the city, that this would actually benefit and help keep that project moving as well, which is very important to the city.
Mr. Weishauer, if I could ask for a kind of a specific clarification of where you're at, so we know so we can maybe discuss that now in its piece. So 90 days is already in. 90 days is a zero.
Correct.
Okay. So you would want to go from 90 to 180. You would go with a.
Yeah. Let's do it this way to make it simple. And Chairman, what I'll do is at this time I'll make a motion to amend the current motion.
Okay. Yep.
And I'll do it this way that we already know the 90 days is what it is. That's unrelated to anything. What I'm saying is after that initial 90 days, that there'd be a 1/3 phase-in of the increase of impact fees in any of the category areas.
So let me get this straight. So the biggest one was going from 6,000 to 11,000 basically. So you're just going up 1,500. What, 1/3 you said?
Whatever the math on 1/3 is. I don't have the chart in front of me, but
That'd be more than 1,500, but
so I would propose
2,000.
be 2,000. Not quite 2,000.
Well, it would go from.
Because it's not 12, but it's like 1,700, 1,800.
Fine.
And then from 180 until
270-day mark, an additional 1/3 increase on the proposed fee in any given area. And at the 1-year mark, it would be a full implementation of whatever fee the board adopts this evening.
That'd be full. So you got 1/3,
Basically
2/3.
goes 6 to 8 to 10 to
So essentially, we're going 1 full year before full implementation.
Yes, sir. And that would be my motion.
And now we already have a motion by Tanya.
It's a motion to amend.
Made a motion and Mr. Booth seconded.
Okay, that's right.
We haven't voted, so.
It's fine. It's an amendment to the motion, which would supersede any motion on the floor, would require a second.
Correct. Do we have a second for Mr. Weishar's motion? Seeing none, that motion will fail. I will say this, Mr. Weishar, I could see, I kind of, this doesn't give me big heartburn, but I will say this. You know, personally, I'd like to see the multifamily number even a lot higher. And that's just my personal view, and that has to do with just where our community is right now with roads, infrastructure, with schools. Now, I understand there's, the multifamily that we may be discussing isn't maybe some of the multifamily that's happening in Celebration. I get it. I would be open to phasing it in. I wouldn't be open to phasing it in over a year. And so I guess if we could talk through that, I'd be open to doing something. But I'd like to see it happen in maybe 180 days. I know. Let me finish. In 180 days rather than a year. Dr. Pace?
And Chair, we would just need clarification as an attorney, your counsel, and as a district. Some of these numbers are going down, some of these numbers are going
Correct.
up. So would everything be phased in, or would the numbers that perhaps were going down immediately be effective at the end of the 90-day waiting period? We need clarification from the board, direction about what you want that to be.
And Mr. Booth, I'm glad to address that if you want
sure,
to recognize me. My intent is that the phase-in that I'm proposing, however that may play out, would only impact the increases. If there's a decrease, it's effective immediately. That would be the new adopted approach based on the impact fee study. Everything I'm talking about would be a phase-in of the delta, the difference increase from where we are to where we may go.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Weishar, could you support a 180-day phase-in?
Mr. Chairman, as far as a phase-in, I would submit to the board that any level of tolerance that you would give to working on that would be appreciated by me. I would admit to you in advance, I still have heartburn over the impact fee increase. But on specific of the phased-in approach, I think it's the right approach for us to take at this point in time.
Okay.
And I respect your viewpoint that a year may seem long.
Yeah, sure. And I'm actually with you halfway, I guess. If you don't mind, I'd like to recognize Brock Nicholas. Sure, Mr. Nicholas, if you'd state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brock Nicholas, 6750 Forum Drive, Suite 310, Orlando, Florida. So just one tool that I haven't heard the board address, I just want to kind of offer that up. The county recently went through this on traffic, and they set up sort of 2 dates. The first date was a guaranteed existing fee submittal deadline, which they set up for residential as March 23rd. In other words, if you got your building permits in by that date, the county is guaranteeing the today fee, no matter how long it takes to get approved. And then they set up a May 1st date for the ultimate implementation for anything charged after that for notwithstanding
Is that the new mobility fee?
The new mobility fee. They used a tool I'm not hearing discussed here. It's just an option, just like a phase-in, and I didn't hear it discussed, so I wanted to suggest with respect to the commercial project the gentleman had. He said he's ready for building permits in 30 days. Under the situation that the county just did, it would have been submitted, and therefore he would have been guaranteed the other rate regardless of when they brought the permit out.
But under this, right, he would be, for another 90 days after county adoption of the ordinance, he would still, so if he gets his stuff submitted in the next 100 days, I don't know when the county's going to vote on this ordinance. I don't know when they'll get it. But, I mean, he probably has 100, 110 days. Is that going to suffice, sir, for you personally?
Can I just the mechanics of the way the fee is collected currently, the fee is collected upon completion of a project, not when the permit comes out. So the duration of construction cycle time would have to pass. What I'm saying is, irrespective of that, if you submit by a certain date, you're guaranteed today's rate. That's the way the county set up the traffic fee. I thought that was a responsible approach given the hike in the fee, which is similar to what you're talking about here. So if you set it up, as respectfully, just a suggestion, if you set up a submit by date, and this could be recommended to TOMAC, which could easily be implemented by the county, you could still have a 90-day statutory limit, but as long as you got your building permit in by a certain date, today's fee would apply. That's it for me.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Brock. We appreciate it.
Board, because I made a...
Yes, hold on, Mr. Thacker.
I think Brock brought up a pretty good point. I think that's what everybody was thinking was, it's the people that I'm kind of concerned with in this are people that are well into the project, that have not, that are getting close to submitting permits and getting to that stage. I really wasn't trying to get somebody in this that in the morning says, ooh, let me hurry up and go build an apartment complex. It's not people that are starting today or forward. It's people that are well into the project. Be it their financing, planning, developing, and all that stuff. Those are the ones that I was trying to protect. And actually, I had forgotten, based on some conversations I'd had with some of the folks from the city, was exactly what he's talking about there. It was really getting their permits in as opposed to when they complete it and pay it.
Yeah.
So,
Board, I couldn't support that only because I think we'd see a rush on multifamily, and that's certainly what I think we have some issues with. So I wouldn't be able to support what Mr. Nicholas suggested. However, phasing in for the CO at 180 days, I mean, I'd certainly be okay with that. And I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
Been doing this forever. I don't think that'd be changing.
And Jay, let me just say, I will have to agree with Mr. Weissire that at any time somebody comes forward with information, I certainly want to listen. And certainly I wish they would have come forward earlier. Yes, I do wish that, but certainly anytime anybody wants to address anything that we're voting on, I do appreciate them coming.
I don't interpret it that way. I know it came off, and
I get it.
I wouldn't articulate it the way that Mr. Wheeler did, because absolutely right up to the very last moment, the reason we give these opportunities is because, however, we're being asked, at least I feel like I'm being asked to only look at one side of the equation and for only one side. That's not how I operate. That's never how I have analyzed anything that's come before me in any circumstance. And right now, I don't feel like there's enough. Now, I understand what's been presented because we've taken a lot of time, like Mr. Wheeler and everybody else here acknowledged, to really go over the fine details of how this is going to be implemented, how it's going to work out, how it's going to affect the school district as well. Remember, that's really, yes, I care about, our business partners and, the community, the economic development, but I'm a school board member. It's a school district, the public schools, that I'm going to try, I have to be fair to the school district. And these proposed amendments and revisions, to me, it doesn't give me enough information to make me feel like I'm being fair to the school district. And for that reason, I wouldn't really approve any changes other than what's being on the agenda.
Hold on just a second. Ms. Blake, do you know how many homes will be, just roughly, how many homes will be CO'd in the next 90 days? Do you have any idea on that? I mean, ballpark? No, not even ballpark. Okay. Mr. Wheeler? Hold on just a second. Let Mr. Wheeler speak, but you can come on forward.
My job is to be a zealous advocate for this school district. I represent over 60,000 students who can't vote. I'm their lobbyist. That's my job. Now, to that end, I know Craig, I know Hector, I know Brock. This guy came in from Virginia. God bless him. He's a good businessman. I don't know him. I haven't been hiding. My email address, my phone number is listed online. You know, I'm available, and if you don't get a hold of me, you call me, leave me a message. I'll call you back. You send me a text, I'll text you back. You email me, I'll email you back. And now I got somebody who is coming in from Virginia, who I've never heard from or seen before. And I heard what he said. And I understand the cost of money, and I understand development. I've been doing this a while. I get that. But meanwhile, we've been doing this for a long time, and my job is to do what's in the best interest of this school district, taking the community into consideration. I realize economic development. We're at a point now where there's a lack of inventory. So I'm sticking with what's here, and I'm going to go back. I'm going to make a motion to approve item 16.4 as submitted.
We've already done it. It's already, we're discussing.
Okay. Well, then I'll call the question.
So,
Just real
Okay,
quick. So for the last 2 years, we've approved about 4,200 COs in a year. So if you divide that by 12, you're asking me in a 3-month period.
What was it?
So we're approving about 4,200 COs a year over 12 months for the last 2 years. So if you divide that by 12 and then multiply by 3, that's probably about how many COs we currently have in the pot.
So 300 a month? 350 a month?
So just over 1,000. But just real quick to Brock's clarification, permits do expire. So I know we're slightly worried about there'll be a rush on permits. So the counties and the municipalities all say that a permit is valid for 1 year as long as there is an approved inspection every 6 months on the project that's active. And then if the work is not completed within 1 year, the applicant may file for an extension that will provide an additional 90 days to complete the project. And then an applicant can only file for 2 extensions, and they each come with pretty significant filing fees. So if there's a fear somebody will pull permits and then they'll just sit out there for years, do know that permits do expire, and some people weren't aware of that, so I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Blake. So, Board, I know, let me put this out there. I know that Mr. Weishaupt put this forward, and if we were to shorten his time frame and say at 120 and then 150 and 180 at the same, would that suffice?
Ask them.
Could you support that?
Ask them.
Could you support?
I absolutely cannot at this time do the proper analysis on how this would impact the school district, this change. I just can't.
Okay, so we're going to call the question. We've had a call for question on item, is this 16.3 correct, Tanya? And who made the motion?
Mr. Wheeler made the motion and Mr. Booth seconded.
Okay, did you want to say,
Yeah,
you
I
guys
just
want to
got
say
one-
something? Okay.
Just at the last
But
workshop.
this will be the last 2 comments.
This is just a point of clarification, because we keep saying we haven't had this conversation. This was discussed, because I brought it up and discussed it at the last workshop
Correct.
that we had out
That is
here.
correct.
You did.
So it's not the first time it's.
Yeah, and Mr. Weishaupt finishes.
Yeah, my comment was simply, Mr. Wheeler, I know you keep focusing on the gentleman. I don't even know who the gentleman is. My point is you should be focusing on me. I'm the one that's making the request and the comment. My request would have been made whether this gentleman was here or not. It has nothing to do with him. I don't know him. I don't know his project. I don't honestly know what he's talking about specifically. So if you're making your decision in any way based upon him addressing this body or you, I would ask that you make the decision instead based upon your respect or reverence for what it is that I'm bringing up as a fellow board member, not for what any one individual brought up.
And Mr. Weissler, I appreciate it, but honestly, I'm making my decision based on what I think is best for the children and the school district of this county. That's
And that's
my
fair.
job.
And that's fair.
As we all are, Mr. Wheeler, we were going to call the question here. I will say right before we do vote here, I could have supported something at about 180 days, but we're going to go ahead and vote now. So I was all in favor of item 16.3, which motion made by Mr. Wheeler, seconded by Mr. Booth. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
So motion carries 3-1 with one abstention. Moving on to item 16.4, Board, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion for item 16.4, authorize staff to submit impact fee study and ordinance language to the Osceola County Commission for their approval and implementation. That's my motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Wheeler, a second by Mr. Soto. Board, any discussion?
Just clarification, this is just an approval for the submittal of this, correct?
We will clean up the thing, the ordinance, and then it'll be submitted to the county as having been approved by this board, and then it is in the jurisdiction of the county to do with it as it deems appropriate.
Thank you.
Board, any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Motion carries 3-1 with one abstention. All right, moving on.
It's been pulled.
Yeah, that's been pulled. Superintendent update, Dr. Pace?
Just a quick reminder, board member.
Sorry.
Oh.
Do we have you later?
The attorney's got something right here.
Sorry, Tanya, make sure, would you, to write Ask Frank on here on this one? Okay. Like you did say Ask Deborah. Yeah.
Just real quickly, the February, if I'm correct, February 6th is our next board meeting. That evening, following the 5:30 meeting, we'll take an adjournment. We need 3 executive sessions, or 1 executive session that are going to cover 3 topics. It is the case of Dean Brooks versus Osceola County School Board, 215 CA 0000576 in Osceola County. The next case is Richard Brown and Abigail Robinson versus the school district, 216 CA 001723. The last case is Sandra Perez as natural parent and next friend for Angelica Rivera versus the school district, 216 CA 002703. Those in attendance will be the board members, the superintendent, myself, and defense counsel. There'll be a court report of the only items that'll be discussed is litigation strategy and/or settlement. That's it.
Board, any opposition to adding the executive session on February 6th? Okay.
Neither meeting should go more than 15 minutes. That's good.
All right. Dr. Pace.
Yes, just a quick reminder, board members and community, we do have our advanced ed visit, our 5-year review of our accreditation status, January the 22nd through the 24th, and I'm looking forward to seeing most of you at TECO, OTEC, for dinner on Sunday beginning at 6 p.m. The team has asked or suggested that we do casual dress, business casual, because many of them will be traveling in that day. So look forward to seeing you there. And the State of Education address is well underway for planning, February the 7th at OXA, beginning at 7:30 a.m. If there's anyone that you believe, we missed somehow in the invitation list, please do make sure that you get that information to Dana. Your videos are looking fabulous, as Ruben's been in the work of editing those, and we're looking forward to a great event to share with our community some of the great things that are happening.
Absolutely. Board, that brings us to new business. We have 2 items that were added under the agenda. Number 1 is the submittal for approval of Lori G. Ambroni to the Audit Advisory Committee. Did I say that correctly? Her application has been submitted to Ms. Graver's office.
Move to approve.
So I've got a motion by Mr. Thacker, a second by Mr. Wheeler. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Number 2, I'll just turn it over to Mr. Wheeler.
Thank you. I'm passing this out, Board. I have been on the Central Florida Commission on Homelessness, the Family Committee, and I just have had a tough time getting there. I've got the meeting schedule here. It's at least 4. They sometimes add meetings Friday afternoons in downtown Orlando, and I just have a tough time getting there between my travel schedule, my work schedule, and they'd like an elected official on that, and I just can't. So if anybody has got an appetite for it, they do good work. Shelley Lawton runs it. If you don't know Shelley, Shelley's great. I've known Shelley for a long time. She does a great job, but I like Shelley. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't know that. Quite well. Okay, I didn't set it up for you. I still like her despite that. If anybody here can make these meetings and go, she wants an elected official. I just can't do it. I just don't schedule it.
Who else serves from Osceola County, like County Commission, St. Cloud City, Kissimmee, anybody?
I'm not sure. It's hit and miss who shows up.
I would make a motion, board, that Kelvin Soto represent us
Second.
on the Central Florida Commission on Homeless.
Second.
It would be my privilege. The thing about it is that.
Look at there.
I know that Friday 1:30 is a favorite slot.
Do you want to serve?
For pre-trial motions and things of that.
But if you tell judges you're on this committee with the chief judge's wife.
even Chief Judge Lawton will say, "No way, Jose."
Okay, that's a whole other issue. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, there's a motion and a second on the floor.
Mr. Soto, are you saying you're not able to?
I'm not able to.
Tim, would you like to serve?
I may be willing to serve. It would be a more accurate term.
Would you love to serve?
No, let me check. I deal with some of this work already in my business, and we've supported some initiatives that are tied to this, so it may be a natural fit. I just have to check with Karen on schedule.
Okay, this is not one of the, so I'm going to withdraw my motion because this is not one of the committees that we select from. It's just something that Mr. Wheeler wanted to discuss and see if one of us was. So, I mean, if Mr. Whiteshire, Mr. Soto, I mean, we could.
Mr. Thacker or Mr. Booth?
I'll keep these.
I cannot serve on
my
this.
calendar. I just, they just.
Well, they want a name submitted.
You see, I don't know.
Well, whoever can get.
I'll check with my
I think it's appropriate within the sunshine that somebody, one of us could contact Jay. Are we getting close? No? Okay, good. Thank you, Ms. Kruppenbacher. Board. Yes, I have the comments about the workshops. Thank you very much, because I did write it down. I remembered, but thank you. Okay, board. We've had a request earlier at our previous workshop that we had today. Earlier workshop for a workshop on the health
clinic,
the health wellness center, and the insurance
aspects.
and the insurance and health trust fund. So I didn't see any opposition to that. So if Tanya, going to shoot some dates at us.
Well, the second meeting in February on the 20th, all you have.
My
at
phone's
this
about to
moment
die, so.
Is a meeting, so.
I mean, it's not an urgent.
February 20th would be your best bet.
Wait.
No, that's it.
February 20th is for a workshop?
To add a workshop.
Yep.
What's the topic?
The health trust fund.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, let's go.
Board, I do have a meeting scheduled at 4 o'clock that day. It's probably something that I could miss, or since the young man is here, I'm not going to say it's for the Boy Scouts, but I could certainly, either go out early and attend that meeting, or talk to them about changing it. But that's not a big deal. If everybody else is open, I'm going to be open too.
I don't think this would be. Would you be available 4:30? I mean, I don't think this meeting's going to take that long.
I think we better allow for some time.
Okay.
I mean, you'd be talking about something about go ahead and start at 2 or 3 o'clock.
I would say 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock? Okay. I mean, I'm open that day.
Yep,
right now.
I'll be open that day.
20th.
This is something, the board has taken interest in, and we want to make sure we have information.
You were looking at February 20th?
Yes.
Board, and if you'll indulge, my phone has died, but I can log into my my calendar right here. If you'll give me just. Oh yeah, that's right. Forgot about that.
Do you want to add both topics to that workshop, or just?
No. I'd like to get another date for a workshop about and actually Clarence said it at the end. I think for bargaining, and just maybe to explore some ideas of how we could meet one of our goals of retaining highly effective teachers.
Wouldn't that be an executive session?
I don't know. Mr. Krumpenbacher?
Certainly, Mr. Krumpenbacher can give us some advice, but this is more strategy than it is substance, if I'm hearing the board correctly. And it might be appropriate based on some of the work that's going on in the legislature to potentially look differently at performance pay. So we should have some knowledge by then
Yes.
as to what that's doing.
Dr. Pace, if I could talk with you more about the dialogue you'd want to have in that.
Sure.
I'd better answer that rather than just give you an answer right at this meeting.
So is it something,
Maybe that you'll want to cover one and one on a closed and one in the open.
what would you like to do, Mr. Thacker?
If I can explain to Frank what I was talking about at the workshop, what we're talking, not here.
Not here? So maybe let's just table this until our next meeting, but know that we've got it on our minds.
I like that idea.
Okay. Board, is there anything further? Dr. Pace? Any folks? Mr. Clinch, Mr. Graber, Ms. Otterson, Curran, Shatira? We're all good? You guys had a big day today earlier, so I think you're talked out, right? Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. We will stand adjourned, Board.
Thank you. Thank you all.
That's not gonna be-